Hey all, season 11 is done. No more anomalies, no more buddies. Now it's time for us to talk about the Time Warped Tavern. But before we get there, in this video, we're primarily covering in the Battlegrounds everything to do with, you've got it, minions, spells, heroes. So much has changed. Now, when the patch video comes out, that's just going to cover the patch stuff. But in this video, we're going to go over all the changes to all the minions. So much. We're not even going to talk about the Time Warped Tavern cards because there's so many of them, and to be frank with you, I don't have them all yet. And if I did, there's so many, it wouldn't matter because the video would be like 3 hours long just to cover the basics on it. And maybe that's another video. But right now, let's talk about all the minions that have changed. And well, folks, there's a lot of them. Now, just a little caveat, I have to warn you, I get this information early. Sometimes the information has a small error in it, or something changes after the fact, so things are not gonna stick 100%. I'm sure something is gonna be wrong in the art or the information, just something's gonna change, because it loves to drive me nuts, and that's what it's gonna do. But with that being said, let us jump right into this season, folks, and there's a lot of changes. First, we're going to start with the neutrals. Now, these are in every single game, so their impact or lack thereof, because they're gone, is very important. So we need to cover neutrals first since they're there all the damn time. But let's start with the neutral cards that are leaving, the friends we've lost along the way. So let's say a moment to these good friends and goodbye. We're gonna begin with Beacon of Hope. What was useful when you'd get it? If you went greedily for a tier 5 triple and you're like, yes, now I'm gonna get another, you'd win that fight and then it wouldn't do anything and you have to hold it in your hand. So no real complaints. Primeval, Monstrosity Leaving. It did do some fun builds, but typically didn't do that much. Moon Eater's Champion Leaving. I always felt like this ended up being a trap card, except for a couple times where it did work. For the most part, if you settled for it, it never quite got you there, so I'm fine with that. Interrogator White Man Gone. Now, this one isn't a card you typically use, but when you do, you are sitting there a lot, hoping it targets the correct minion. So to be honest with you, not going to miss it that much, but there are times when it was really impactful, and for that, I will miss it. And Greymage Champion. I think this is the triple I always get. Yes, I'll be getting an early 6. It will be Greymage Champion because the other two, for whatever reason, were not playable, and I am not usually thrilled with this scenario. But I mean, there are times when it was good. I've had games where they just keep showing up, probably because nobody else wanted to play them. But Greymage Champion gone also. Now it's time we welcome back some old friends. We're going to look at some neutral cards that used to be in the game that are making a comeback during this season. First, we're going to start with Tier 2, 3, 4, Intrepid Botanist. Now, this one is choose one. Your tavern spells give an extra +1 attack this game or +1 health. I mean, at Tier 2, the effect is insane, but it does last forever, and it's a 3/4 body, so not a bad pickup on those early turns. Hey, duo players, I got one for you. Look, Tier 2, 3/4, Friendly Saloon Keeper. Battlecry, your teammate gets a tavern coin. So hey, it's a 3/4 body. It's going to give your teammate some coin. Go nuts. I mean, this certainly is not a bad card. It's just good in the early game, no complaint. In late game, if you're cycling, say, with a brand, you can give your teammates some value for the heck of it. Next up at Tier 3, we have the Budding Green Thumb. This 1/4 has Avenge 3. Give your adjacent minions +2/+1 permanently. Now, this one is phenomenal if you have a bunch of summons, if you can get it in the back. Hey, you got a bunch of Risen Riders up front. They're like, hey, we're going to soak up some hits, and you're going to start buffing the back end of your board to a decent degree. This can be a really fun card with the right board when found early enough. Obviously, late game, you're not going to be using this. But in the mid game, after you've got a bunch of summon minions, this thing can really shine, assuming it doesn't get sniped. Stepping up to Tier 4, we've got some big ones coming back. First, we have the Witchwing Nest Matron. This 3/5 Avenge 3. Get a random Battlecry minion. 1, 3/5 stat line's not horrible. 2, Avenge 3, get a Battlecry can really add up. Once again, you get this early, you have a few summons, you really can milk this for a good bit of Battlecry value. If you've already got a brand, this is going to get pretty nutty typically. They're random, so it's not a guaranteed win, but early enough, this thing is really good. Treasure Seeker Elise is making a comeback. 5/5 after you refresh 5 times. Find the golden monkey. Well, we already know Elise is good. She's been in the game a number of times. She keeps coming back. They keep taking her away because she's kind of problematic with some heroes and just some anomalies. Now, with the new season, is she going to be a problem? We'll see. If anything, a solid minion at a 5/5 stat line with a decent effect. One of my old favorites coming back again is the Tortollan Blue Shell. This 3/6 is if you lost your last combat, this minion sells for 5 gold. Oh, so it's a 3/6 stat line, which is just fine. Nothing wrong with that. But the effect really is it's 5 gold. So if you lost your last combat, this is sitting in the shop. You buy it for 3, you sell it, and you get 5. You can't go wrong. Phenomenal minion, especially when you've had a couple bad combats and maybe you get a couple of these in the shop. You really can make some decent money. It's frustrating when you triple into it and you're just like, well, I mean, if the other ones aren't good, obviously I'm going to take it. But otherwise, it's just an all-around good card. I like Tortollan Blue Shell. It's a fun card that certainly has a use. Now coming from way back in the history of Battlegrounds, we have the Unforgiving Treant. This 3/12 taunt, whenever this takes damage, give your minions +2 attack permanently is, I'm going to say, lackluster. I mean, yeah, if you triple into it super early, you can buff your board's attack a little bit. But when you're hitting tier 5 triples, you're looking for direction. You're looking for something to enable you a win condition, or at least give you some kind of big value. There are situations you have a bunch of divine shields where this can be useful, but they're niche at best. This is one of those cards that you really kind of look at it and go, oh, it feels like bloat. And I feel like it felt like bloat back in the day when it was a thing, and it's back again, and it still feels like an unneeded card, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they will see some cool builds. We'll see. What do you think? Finally, at tier 6, we have the Arid Atrocity. Yep, he's back again. This 6/6 all-type minion is Death Rattle. Summon a 6/6 golem, improved by each friendly minion type that died this combat. Now, this minion has been an issue in the past for early triples, right? If you have 4 or 5 different tribes on your board, this is an additional one. If you reborn it, it reborns, it counts as another tribe, and it really can give you a lot of tempo if you hit this early. Late game, it can be some shenanigans too, because it interacts with a lot of different venom and other trick things we can do. That really makes it problematic at times, but it is a fun card when you can pull it off early because, yeah, now you could sit there, go to 6 because you have that added tempo of what this gives you, and really start kicking the lobby while it's down. All right. It's time for the new cards, the brand new things you've never seen before. They've never been in the game, and some of these are pretty interesting, and some of them are, low tier, kind of not. But that's the nature of the game, right? Let's start with the Worgen Executive. This tier 2 2/5 rally. After the tavern is refreshed this game, give its rightmost minion +1/+1. Okay, so it's a permanent buff. If you can get this to trigger a couple times, it will buff that rightmost minion a couple times. It's a tier 2 card, right? It's a 2/5. It does give you a little tempo. Maybe that far right card might have been something you didn't really want typically, but if this thing swings 3 or 4 times, all of a sudden, not bad. And at tier 2, it's a 2/5 stat. You can't really go wrong. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. At tier 4, we have the Heroic Underdog. Stealth, Rally, gain the target's attack. And this could be an interesting tech card if someone's not running Reborn, they just have some giant minions. You can kind of hide this thing, let it swing out, and it will kill whatever it hits, typically, if that minion has a ton of attack. And if you golden it, it gets a lot more attack, so there's some potential for the Underdog here. I don't know how exciting it's going to be, but it's a 110 stat line and it's going to gain attack, so that's not really a problem. We'll see. It looks fun. At tier 6, we have Arcadis. Maybe. It sounds right. This 10/10 battle cry, get a random tier 5. Now, normally, I'm not super excited about getting random tier 5s. I mean, even with a brand, obviously, it's great. Getting 2 tier 5s, more potential. But it's a 10/10 body also. The way it goes, that's not a bad triple into a 6. Even if you're not excited about its battle cry effect, at least it's got some stats. Obviously, if we're going to turn 10 and later, it's probably not very good stat-wise, But earlier you hit this, the better, because you're getting a tier 5 with it. There's no conditions attached to it, like you had to lose your last combat or anything weird. So it definitely doesn't seem bad at all. It's not the most exciting tier 6, but it's definitely not the worst. And hey, do you want to hear about tier 7? Because here we go. We're going to start with Highkeeper Ra. This 7/7 is Death Rattle and Rally. Get a random tier 6 minion. Okay. Death Rattle and Rally get a tier 6? Obviously, it's a tier 7, so it should have good effects. Now, they said they're reworking most of the tier 7s, and by the most part, they mean replacing them. And this is a better example, I feel, of a decent level of power. So I'm pretty content with that. It's going to help you get your build going, whatever it is, and then you just cut it. You know, once you already have the good tier 6s, you can then let this go. There's no reason to keep it. The earlier you get it, the better, obviously, but isn't that always the case for tier 7? So, good card. The last one standing is a 7/7 all-type card that reads Rally. Give a friendly minion of each type +7/+7 permanently. And yeah, it's an all-type. So, what are you? Wind Fury, Divine Shield, Reborn, Venom. This thing's flying at you, murdering your board. Meanwhile, casually giving a 7/7 permanent buff to their board permanently for each type, including itself. That's pretty damn good. It's a tier 7. It should be. I'm fine with that. And I love the artwork on this also, so this is going to be fun. I look forward to seeing this card, depending which end of it I'm on. Psychus is a 1/1. Start of combat, set this minion's attack and health to match the highest in the battlefield. So there's no reason to buff this card at all. It is going to match the attack and health of the highest on the battlefield. But the important part there is in the battlefield. It's not a friendly minion, so it's going to be either side. So if your opponent is, say, rocking a giant minion that's bigger than your board, now you are also. Nothing wrong with that. Psychus is going to be a very impactful card. Obviously, tier 7, it's good. It should be. This will be fun to see how it all plays out and if it's good or not, but I'm pretty sure the answer is yes. Now it's time to talk about beasts. All the changes happening to beasts. And like every tribe here, there's a lot of changes happening to beasts, so let's dive in. We're going to start with the beasts that are leaving. A somber moment. Let us see. First, we have the Alley Cat is departing. Not a huge deal. Nice economy minion, but not a big deal. Next, we have Hungry Snapjaw who's leaving. I mean, good if you get it early, kinda. He never really feels great. Even if he's tempo, he never really feels super good. So, no big loss on Hungry Snapjaw there. Mama Bear leaving for what has to be the millionth time. Poor Mama Bear has had so many different versions, all the way up basically to tier 7 with Papa Bear when it was a card. It's just kind of weird this card keeps coming and going so much, but maybe we should just start thinking of it as they're hibernating. That's all. One day Papa Bear will be back also. You'll see. Light Feather Screecher is gone. One of those great enablers of the many Death Rattle versions of Beast has moved on. I'm sure it'll be back in a later season, but for now, we don't have any more of that. Mechanized Gift Horse, gone. Now this one is really impactful for certain builds. It does feel good to have on the board, but well, beasts are moving into a new type of build this season, so we won't be seeing much mechanized gift horsing, that's for sure, at least for now. Raptor Elder, gone. No more will you be summoning a bunch of beasts. Well, he hides in the shadows and slowly buffs away at them. And finally, a card I am thrilled to see gone, Polatron. This thing, some days, is why I lose multiple games in a row, just because people hit this and it murders your board. And it's a cute build, but it's kind of frustrating to see it build and build and build until all the beasts are hitting for 3,000 to 5,000, and you're just sitting there going, yep. Yeah, I cycled 100 cards last turn, and they played a Stegodon, and I'm dead. That's fun. So yeah, I'm not really going to complain about this card leaving. Even when I get to use it, I just kind of feel bad, so it's a good card as far as I'm concerned to be out. Now we're going to be looking at the beasts that are staying, but changing, and not dramatically. Sewer Rat, still tier 2, still a 3/2. Death Rattle summon a 2/3 turtle with taunt, but Sewer Rat itself no longer has taunt, making it a lot less useful for what we were using it for typically in late game builds. Now you have to find a taunt spell to make it have the same value, so we might not see as much of it, but still there. Sly Raptor, tier 4, 1/4 now. Death Rattle, summon a random beast, set its stats to 8/8 now. That is the big change. It currently summons a 6/6 in the game. Now it summons an 8/8. Goldrin, tier 6, 8/8, and you've got it. Their Death Rattle is now, for the rest of this combat, your beasts have 8/8. They have this synergy thing they love to do, and it's holding strong here. Goldrin getting buffed again, trying to be relevant. I don't know how big a buff Goldrin's got to get to. I think at one point he was a 3/3, currently a 6/6. Now he's going to 8/8. Poor Goldrin. Is it going to be a 20/20 buff at some point? I mean, I'm just waiting to see how high this thing can go. Let's turn to the beasts that are coming back. They've been in the game once. Now you can kind of get a feel of the build they're pushing this season for beasts. Tier 2, 3/4, Irate Rooster. Start of combat, deal 1 damage to adjacent minions and give them +4 attack. Sit it next to a couple minions that can survive the hit, hopefully, and give them a buff. If you have minions that it will kill, maybe don't take this, just until you can find things that fit. Tier 3, 8/8 Rampager. Rally, deal 1 damage to your other minions. Yes, this is great when you're playing beasts, and sometimes an absolute nightmare as it kills a bunch of your minions. Maybe instead of putting it in slot 1 like you want to, you got to put it in the 4th or 5th slot because it will kill a bunch of your minions. And it might get sniped now, but it's the only thing you could do or you're going to wipe out your own board. Rampager definitely works in the builds that you'll use later, but early game can be problematic as it will kill a lot of your own minions also. Trigor the Lasher. This card at times has been a problem. It'll be interesting to see how it develops in this season, but tier 4, 9/3, whenever another friendly beast takes damage, gain +2 health permanently. There's a lot of ways to move attack around for beasts and add some attack to this thing, and it will gain a lot of health in the right setup. So definitely an impactful card, and it has to kind of be at tier 4 because it takes time to get its health up enough to matter. With only 9 attack, it doesn't really help. If you get your health to 400, but your attack is still 9, you're not really going to do much most of the time, unless it's like turn 7, in which case, yeah, okay, yeah, obviously. At tier 5, there's a bunch of returning ones. First, we have the Iridescent Skyblazer, 3/7. Whenever a friendly beast takes damage, give a friendly beast other than it +2/+1 permanently. And that is the key word right there, permanently. That thing sits in back next to your Trigor. Your beasts are flying all around, damaging the enemy, damaging themselves. And that Trigor is just getting buffed. And that Iridescent is throwing out buffs everywhere. And yeah, they're random, so it might land on Death Rattles and random reborn things that aren't going to keep that buff. But the ones that land on your other minions are incredibly important and will make this build work. Spiked Savior is an 8/2 beast. Taunt, reborn, Death Rattle. Give your minions +1 health and deal 1 damage to them. So whatever health they're at, they're going to gain 1 more, and then they're going to take 1 point of damage. But as we've already discussed, all your other beasts want you to do damage to your minions, and now they're going to take advantage of that and get buffed. So yeah, Spike Savior, if you end up doing the damage beast build, which looks like what we'll be doing this season, is going to be another key part of that build. Finally, Indomitable Mount, 3/6 Death Rattle, summon a random beast from tier 2, 3, and 4. Used to be a tier 6, used to summon slightly higher tier minions, obviously, but this is still incredibly good. Considering we just want our beast to exist and take damage to buff other things, this minion is a great thing to throw out there. You have any avenged mechanics, you tripled in this early, it's going to give you more triggers typically. The 6 health can be a problem, but at tier 5, by the time you're typically tripling into this, or just buying it naturally, most things are going to kill it. So it's not really going to be too much of a problem at dying. Of course, there'll be those moments where, you get screwed because it lives by 1 health, but otherwise, it should work pretty damn well. Are you ready to talk new beasts? Crazy new minions? Game breaking? No, but good. Some of them very good. We're going to start with tier 3, 1/6, the Hardy Orca. Taunt, whenever this takes damage, give your other minions +1/+1. I mean, it's a tier 3. That 6 health will very often survive in the early game, and that means it's going to give your other minions +1/+1. It works in any build. Is it amazing? No, it's a 1/1 buff. It's not permanent, it's just for the combat, but at tier 3, you might get a couple of buffs out of it. That's enough to help you win a fight. Can work on any board. Not bad. Depending on your hero power, there might be some more ways to abuse it. Could be fun. At tier 4, we have the Hungry Tiger Shark. This 3/5 Battlecry Discover a Beast. It feels weird to see a Battlecry card in Beasts, but we've had them in the past. It lets you discover a beast. I don't think you're ever still going to want to run a Brand Beast board, but if you are running a Brand cycle a lot of card build at any other build, this is still a good card to get with Brand because it's essentially going to be 1 gold to buy a minion from the shop, and if you have a Brand, it's free. Can't really go wrong if you're doing cycling, so definitely has some potential, this card, if anything, just for that. At tier 6, we have the Rabid Panther. This 4/8 beast is after you play a beast, give your other beasts +3/+3 and deal 1 damage to them. So this is going to be the thing that makes you want to just cycle beasts, which might make you say, hey, hunting tiger shark. Maybe I'm sitting at tier 6 cycling beasts. Who knows? Would it be unheard of? Yes. Beasts don't cycle cards. Does this give some potential if you can cycle enough? Yeah. I think it's more about a self-damage build, and you just cycle a beast here and there. You're not running a Brand and going crazy with it. But that being said, you know someone will make it work. Build a nutty build and make this the new flavor of the month for at least a little while. A Rabid Panther seems like a really fun card and definitely fits the self-damage build. Since it's in the shop phase, you can control it. You don't really care, so you can taunt it just so it's in the way to absorb other hits. It definitely has a good use case, so I'm excited about Rabid Panther. Jumping all the way up to tier 7, the Stalwart Kodo, 6/12. After you summon a minion in combat, give it this minion stats 3 times per combat. Okay, obviously the base 6/12 from a tier 7 isn't going to be much. But if you buff this thing, you have all these different ways of self-damaging your board to get it bigger and bigger. This thing is going to start throwing out a lot more stats. If you triple it, it's going to be giving double its stats. Obviously, it's going to start being tough to figure out exactly what you want on your board based on, of course, what you can find. But this is just another contender for those spots. And if you get it, I definitely can see if you can buff this, it doing a really good job. But that's it for the beasts. They have some pretty interesting changes. It looks like we're going to a self-damage build this season, which I don't mind. It's certainly more interesting than, say, Leapfroggers or Beetles or the annoying Poltron, so I'm not complaining. I'm pretty happy to be doing this as something different. What about you? All right, it's time we move on to the Demon Tribe and see what things are going to be different over there this season. And yeah, like everything, there's quite a few changes here. A lot coming out and some things coming back. Not so much in the way of new stuff, which is a little surprising. Demons just kind of changing how they operate. Well, you'll see in a minute what I mean. First, though, we need to begin with the friends we are losing. We're going to be losing Icky Imp. Not a huge deal. Turn 1 minion fine, otherwise, who cares? Piggyback Imp also being gone. Yes, we're losing all the imps. And you know what? We're also losing False Implicator. Oh my god, the implications. So many imps gone. It makes you wonder what else might be going. And seeing if there's a theme to it. We're going to be losing the Improviser, which, if you're losing all the imps, who cares? Because the Improviser is kind of useless without those imps, unless we're getting more summons, dramatically more so. And we're going to be losing the Soul Juggler. And hey, guess what? We've lost all of our little minions so far. What good is a Soul Juggler going to be? And I'm always going to argue that I kind of can't stand the Soul Juggler anyways. It is really strong early, and then useless later. There's some weird builds where it obviously can work if you get lucky, but 9 out of 10 times, those are the rules that apply for him. So I'm kind of happy Soul Juggler's out. And guess what? Void Earl is gone also. Who saw Void Earl leaving if all those were leaving? It kind of makes sense, right? Fellblaze Leader leaving is kind of a surprise. I didn't quite see that one coming. I like that minion. Good one found early. Nice value no matter what build you're playing. So kind of sad to see Fellblaze Leader go. Cupcake Peddler's leaving, but, you know, since we lost False Implicator and Fellblaze Leader, do you really want to have Cupcake Peddler that often? Do you want to have it that often anyways? It does work as a pinch when you can't eat the shop, but clearly it's not the best way to do this, So not really a shock there. Now it's time we take a look at the minions that are changing, that are currently in the game. And right off the bat, we're going to start with the Impulsive Trickster at tier 3. This 5/5 Death Rattle, give this minion's maximum health to another friendly minion. Basically works exactly the same. It's gone up a tier. It has more stats. I don't really know how I feel about this card. Trickster doesn't quite work really anymore. You never really see it being run. But this is a whole new meta, so you never know. And maybe the stat shift makes this a little more desirable. We'll see. Silent Enforcer at tier 4. 6/2 now. Taunt. Death Rattle, deal 2 damage to all other minions except friendly demons. Basically the same with some stat adjustments and the damage adjustment. Still does the same thing you'd want it to do if you're going to run it, so not a big deal. Insatiable Urzul getting nerfed pretty hard and going to stay at tier 5, going to be a 4/6 now instead of a 4/7. The difference is what it does. It's taunt, same as before. After you play a demon, consume a random minion in the tavern to gain its stats. Now, obviously, this nerf was pretty harsh because you're eating half the minions you were before. You're going to have a harder time buffing the shop. You're going to have just fewer reasons to want to play this. Right now, you see a Fellbat and you're like, I don't really care unless I can finish playing it as my last demon, because you'd rather just have an Urzulu 2 and cycle all the damn demons you can than ever have a Fellbat on your board. It's not good enough. Insatiable Urzul's kind of amazing right now. This should probably bring it into line what it actually should be, as opposed to what it currently is. Shadow Dancer bouncing back up to tier 5. Gonna be a 5/4 taunt Death Rattle, get a Staff of Enrichment. So it's just a tier and stat change. Functionally still the same. Still doing what you want it to do with buffing the shop. Now we've got the returning demons, and this is where it's gonna get telling on the angle they're wanting to go with demons. First, we have the Wrathweaver. Tier 1, 1/4, now a demon, not a neutral. After you play a demon, deal 1 damage to your hero and gain +2/+1. The fact that it's now a demon does make it much more viable, as, hey, if you have a Wrathweaver, now when you play a Wrathweaver, it'll actually trigger that first Wrathweaver. It will affect all those things that want you to play a demon, and when you play a card that, say, discovers something from that tribe, you will now be able to discover a Wrathweaver. I don't know if that's going to actually make it viable in builds later, but it certainly gives it more potential. Now, when you see the Wrathweaver, you instantly notice that you're back to damaging your hero, and that leads us into the next card, tier 2, 4/1. Yep, he's back, and I hate him. The Soul Rewinder. After your hero takes damage, rewind it and give it +1 health. I don't like this card. I hate this card because if you somehow get stuck playing demons and you can't find a way to prevent that damage, you will quickly kill yourself. I'm not sure you're gaining enough tempo to justify doing all the damage to yourself sometimes. And I know you're going to tell me, Heretic, it's tier 2. That's not hard to find. Then you clearly have not had a game where you're sitting there on turn 10, discovering demons left and right, still can't find this damn card, and you're slowly cutting your own throat. This card drives me nuts. It's one of the things I hate about demons. But when you find it early and you get the package, which is a low tier build, can get relatively big. This is something I feel like low tier players, if you're sitting sub 6K, you love. It's like, oh, I've got 5 Wrathweavers and a Soul Rewinder. I just cycle demons. Whee! And it's like, oh God, here we go again. Until you're that guy who can't find the Soul Rewinder. And then every time you play one, you're just killing yourself really fast. Imposing Percussionist is back. And this one I do like, especially if you're discovering demons. If you have that Soul Rewinder, tier 4, 4/4 demon, Battlecry, discover a demon, deal damage to your hero equal to its tier. Once again, you must find the Soul Rewinder ASAP, but otherwise, a great card. I think what I find the most frustrating about this card is when you're not playing demons, you keep generating battle cries, and it keeps giving you this, and now you're like, well, I can either keep it in my hand and waste space, or I can play it, and you've got it, slowly kill myself so my opponents don't have to. Woohoo! I don't like this card in that respect. This is one of the reasons I don't like the whole self-damage demon thing. I understand it's fun when it works, but when you're missing a tier 2 minion to make your build viable, it is maddening. At tier 5, we have the return of Furious Driver. This 3/3 battle cry. Your other demons each consume a minion in the tavern to gain its stats. If you've buffed your shop, want to cycle this thing through, there you go. Not a huge fan of this card. You have to buff your shop a lot for it to be viable, and we've already discussed it's a little harder to do that, at least what we've seen so far. Maybe with the other things we're going to talk about later, it'll feel better, but from what I've seen, I don't like it so far. Ashen Corruptor is a 6/6. After your hero takes damage, rewind it and give your minions in the tavern +1/+1 this turn. Once again, this is a way we can buff the shop, so we can consume it and we can prevent damage to ourselves. So now on tier 2 and tier 5, we can prevent that damage. So obviously there is a path for this card in most builds. You're going to be looking to cut that rewinder. It's going to be too big to cut, but you're going to want to replace it with that rewinder for the buffs. And it's just going to be that awkward moment when you have to just bite the bullet and sell that soul rewinder to make space on your board so the Ashen Corruptor can work. Now on to the new demons. Now, I suspect there might be more, and I will adjust the video if I find out there are more, but we have the tier 3 1/2 demon, Aranasi Alchemist, Taunt, Reborn, Death Rattle, give your minions in the tavern +1 health this game. So with this card, yes, it's a 1/2 at tier 3. It's got Taunt, Reborn, and Death Rattle. That means it's gonna die, it's gonna come back, and it's gonna die again, and you're gonna buff your shop permanently 2 health a turn. Is that insane? No. If found early enough with some shop consumption, it's not bad, but it's certainly not direction. It's just a tier 3 random card. I really struggle to think if this is actually going to be good, but it can't hurt if found early enough. But if I'm on tier 3 and this is what I have to buy, it better be synergistic to the demons I'm playing as opposed to any other build, because +1 health feels like there's better tier 3 things out there we could be grabbing. And that is it for the new demons. I wish I had more to say, but that is all I have at this time. Once again, hopefully when this video is done, there will be a lot more demons. It looks like with demons, we're just going self-damage. There's not really much else to them. Yes, you could still do the shop buffing, but it doesn't look nearly as good, at least currently, and with the format we've discussed. Now with new mechanics and whatnot, obviously this is another conversation. But right now, it doesn't look that exciting other than self-damage. We'll see, we'll play. What do you think? All right, it's time to talk dragons. We've got some changes to the dragon tribe, to say the least. Let's see what they're doing with them. First, of course, we're starting with the dragons that are leaving us for now, because they always seem to come back again. But Limb Guardian is going to be gone. I don't mind this minion on first turn. That's about it. You never want to have it long, and then you want to hope you swing first in the combat, but otherwise, not much to say. Whelp Smuggler, it's okay. It's never a card you're excited to be playing with. Yes, there are times in certain builds where it can do silly things, but even then, it's something you always cut, so it's not a huge deal. Blazing Skyfin has been back with us, I don't know, 17,342 times, and he's always basically the same and doesn't really do a great job, so no super loss there. Sandstone Drake is leaving, and, I'm sure some of you are tired of seeing elemental dragon boards sitting there scaling up to the moon with basically this, a Master of Realities, and nothing else, and you're like, well, crap. It's when it's hit early, it is quite large, and it's time for you to find Scam to deal with it, because it gets too big. Kind of happy to see this gone. Greenskeeper, yes, you get this early with the right battle cries you can trigger in combat. You can do some silly things, but otherwise, not a huge deal. General Dracasath gone for, seems like the billionth time. This is one of the original dragons. It just keeps coming and going. They're gone now. By end of the season, they'll be back, because that's what happens every year. Nobody can stop General Dracasath forever. Nimble Hatchling is gone, and dragons with a consistent, never-ending supply of Wind Fury does get a little annoying, at least as they existed currently, so I'm kind of happy that this is gone. Charmwing is gone, and yeah, do you like fighting dragon boards where they have 80 to 100 attack and then, I don't know, 3,000 to 6,000 health? That's what this thing used to do pretty consistently. I'm kind of content with that being gone. Caligos gone. Now, I'm never excited to be forced to play Caligos. He feels way too slow, way too old school, but I'm not sure what we're going to do at Dragons. Hopefully the new stuff offers us some options, but Caligos out of here again. Finally, Nadina the Red, our savior of the Divine Shield, gone. Dragons will have to do it a little different, that's for sure. All right, well, let's talk about the returning dragons. There's a couple of them, and we'll see how you feel about them. We have at tier 3, 2/8, the Roaring Recruiter. Whenever another friendly dragon attacks, give it +3/+1. I mean, it's not bad. It's not exciting, but if you triple into this early and you're not really happy because you triple into a 3 and this is the best thing offered, it doesn't even buff itself. So if you don't have a dragon on the board, it's not very good. It's a cute card. It's not bad. Wannabe Gargoyle, tier 4, 9/1. Reborn. This is Reborn with full attack. It certainly has some scam, weird potential stuff you could do if you buff it up and up, sit it and back. But typically not a dragon you're like super excited to have in your build or board. So early tempo in the right lobbies, it can work. Finally, tier 6, 8/8. Ignition Specialist is back. At the end of your turn, get 2 random tavern spells. Works with a lot of different builds. Definitely not a dragon-only minion. I like Ignition Specialist, so I'm pretty happy it comes back. If you triple into this, and the other ones are just kind of trash, even if this doesn't fit any kind of build you want to do, it's 2 tavern spells, so that's pretty solid. Now it's time we take a look at the new dragons, and there's some early tempo in this package, folks. First, at tier 1, 1/1, the Twilight Hatchling. Death Rattle, summon a 3/3 whelp that attacks immediately. You got it. A 1/1 that turns into a 3/3 that goes on the offensive. Not too shabby, especially on turn 1. Depending what other tribes are in the lobby, it's still very solid. We're going to see this on a lot of boards, I think. At tier 2, we have the 1/3 Whelp Watcher. Rally, summon a 3/3 whelp to attack the target first. So if you detect a theme so far, at least, we're throwing out some whelps. They're 3/3s, obviously late game, who cares? But in the early game, those first few turns, these 3/3s can be impactful, so we'll have to see how it plays out. At tier 4, we have the 5/3 Twilight Broodmother. Death Rattle, summon 2, you got it, Twilight Hatchlings, give them taunt. And this is kind of interesting. I don't know how it's going to work on late game boards. There's obviously some rally attack potential boards here, but this thing dies, it's going to summon 2 1/1s with taunt. But when they die, they're going to summon 3/3s that attack immediately, which means if you are running a rally dragon board, you could do some interesting things. I don't know how it does versus boards that scale forever, but at least for temporary tempo, short explosive bursts, it'll work. You're definitely looking for something more long-term though, because you're not going to win many lobbies with something like that, that's for sure. Let's look at tier 6 and see what it offers us. This 9/5 Stunt Drake, Avenge 3, give this minion's attack to 2 different friendly minions. Okay, well, I mean, since this is the big tier 6, this is kind of the way it all ties together, I'm guessing, because you have all these minions who are going to attack and summon additional minions, or die and summon additional minions. Those minions are going to attack, they'll trigger the Avenge, and then this will buff things. So if you are buffing your dragons, and this is sitting in back, and it's slowly churning away at getting bigger, and then you throw a bunch of 3/3s at them, this will then give its stats to those 3/3s you're randomly throwing at them, offering some interesting potential. There could be a fun board around this. This is it for dragons. This is what we got. So what do you think about these builds? I definitely think the Stunt Drake is kind of the linchpin of the new dragons they're kind of going for. You're going to buff it up. It's going to just take advantage of all those summons. It doesn't necessarily have to be dragons that die. It's just Avenge 3, so you can use it with anything, even a menagerie type board where this sits in back and you buff the hell out of it and then throw a crap ton of tokens at someone until they just get smashed down with the tokens. It's all a question of when does your Stunt Drake get sniped in the back, right? It's one of those builds where it can work, and when it works, it's going to feel great for you, not for your opponent. It's not going to feel great to be dying to random tokens with hundreds of attack. Well, they have 3 health, and you're just sitting there like, just hit the Stunt Drake. All I need you to do is hit the damn Drake. No, not that. The Drake. It's gonna drive you nuts. But then on the flip side, you know when you play it, this thing's gonna have invisible taunt. And every time your minions with taunt die, the enemy is gonna hit it first, and you're just gonna bang your head on the table in frustration. This is an interesting card. It certainly has some potential, and it should be some interesting builds. It feels to me more like a beast build as opposed to a dragon build, but let's see how it plays out, and if it's fun, it's definitely a different angle for dragons. All right, in this section, we're going to cover the dual tribe minions. Now, with the way these are given to me, it's a little haphazard. I don't want to list these twice, once for each tribe, so I'm just going to put the minions into this one category here. I believe the leaving minions I'm going to cover in the individual sections, but we'll cover it as we go because there's just so much information. Literally hundreds and hundreds of cards are changing and being added to the game right now. It's just a volume of work that is it's too much for the extremely limited amount of time I have to do this work. We're going to start with the returning dual tribe minions. First, we have tier 1 1/1 Naga Beast, the Surf. In Surf, spellcraft, give a minion death rattle, summon a 3/2 crab until next turn. This one was there was absolutely nothing wrong with this card. It was very useful to give you some aspect of scam too, because you could cycle these through or generate them randomly, and all of a sudden your minions also have death rattles. So this is a very useful card at every point in the game. First turn or maybe turn 16, just to give you that little extra edge to win a fight. So nothing wrong with Surf and Turf. At tier 3, we have the Felemental is back. This Elemental Demon is a 3/3 battle cry. Give minions in the tavern +2/+1 this game. Now, we've already removed a lot of ways we're buffing the shop. And hey, look, we're bringing back other ways to buff the shop. It's a never-ending carousel of minion, folks. At tier 5, 2/6 Demon Quilboar Felboar's back. After you cast 3 spells, consume a minion in the tavern to gain its stats 3 times per turn maximum. So, yeah, you cast tavern spells, you cast spellcraft, you cast blood gems, you will eat minions in the shop. If you've buffed the shop at all and you can generate some gems, you certainly can get some value off this. Nothing wrong with this minion. It definitely made some pretty crazy builds back in the day. We'll see what it does. I'm assuming it's still going to do silly things. Now, when it comes to new dual tribe cards, they're all tier 4, so let's cover them. First, we're going to have the 4/5 Elemental Demon Flaming Enforcer. At the end of your turn, consume the highest health minion in the tavern to gain its stats. Once again, if you're buffing the shop specifically to consume them, hey, this guy's going to eat the best stats. Nothing wrong with that. We have the 6/4 Undead Pirate Plank Walker. Whenever you cast a tavern spell, give 3 random friendly minions +2/+1. It's a good stat line at 6/4. If you have any tavern spells lined up, now you're going to buff that board. Nothing wrong with that. This is incredibly good, I feel, for tier 4. I have no complaints about this card, except which end of it I'm going to be on. Next, we have the Spirit Drake, a 1/8 Undead Dragon. Avenge 3, get a random tavern spell. This one's useful for multiple things. If you don't really have a board, but you have a lot of random summons, hey, throw a Spirit Drake out there and all of a sudden you're generating tavern spells, which, yeah, they could be 1 gold, but they go all the way up to 6 gold also. And you definitely are getting some decent value out of this thing if you have a lot of summons, as long as it doesn't get sniped. Definitely has some potential in some builds. It's more of a mid-game to early late game card. I don't think we'll see this on too many late game boards, because typically your goal is to get so big, you're not going to have many things dying. So I don't think this is going to be here in many super late game builds. That being said, it's still going to be pivotal in that mid game, I think. But that's it. That's all we've got for the dual tribes. It's just a minor section we're going to throw in here, and then we'll jump right back into the regular tribes. All right, let's talk elementals. Let's talk every change in the elemental tribe. And of course, we start with the elementals leaving. First, Molten Rock. Really, are you going to worry about Molten Rock? No, you're fine with Molten Rock being gone. Sandstone Drake is gone. Sandstone Drake can be very annoying, and not even really because of itself, but just what it does is kind of irritating, how it interacts with some other cards. So I'm not really going to complain about it. It was an interesting card, though, and even if I found it annoying at times, it's not often you find a card and it just feels more interesting than your typical, hey, I put it on the board, and that's all it does. So at least it had an interaction that made it unique. Fellblaze Leader, once again, is gone. Kind of sad. Liked buffing the shop, but if you're playing elementals, you don't really care about buffing the shop, so at least in this use case, not a big deal. Vine Climber was one of those where, hey, look, in the shop, it's a Vine Climber, and there's 3 elementals. Well, let's make one big one in addition to getting triples. I mean, there was ways you could really get some value, especially if then this elementals tripled into more elementals. Like, you could do some silly stuff with it, which did feel really good. So I'm going to miss that. Master of Realities is gone, and this is what made Sandstone Drake a problem. Just the interaction of these 2 cards was nuts. Once you put a Drakari Enchanter on the board, doubling those end of turns just made it too much. And I'm kind of happy it's gone, but at the same time, it was a unique kind of interaction you don't typically see, so I kind of enjoyed it, but don't have to deal with it anymore at least. Lantern Lava is removed, and I gotta say, this card really allowed for some really stupid interactions. You got a gold one of these, you got 2 gold ones of these, you could just print triples left and right. It was kind of dumb. I'm kind of happy this thing is gone. I felt like it had a neat idea that was just taken a little too far once it was tripled. So I'm content with this change. Elemental of Surprise is gone. And once again, kind of a love-hate thing with this. Yeah, it was annoying when, you know, they triple with themselves, or you generate them randomly and all of a sudden you've got 3 pairs and of course it triples the worst one. But that also was interesting. It was a little unique. Nothing quite did what it did. So I'm going to kind of miss the Elemental of Surprise for that. All gone, at least for now. Elementals that are currently in the game and changing. We have just one. We have the Crackling Cyclone, now tier 1, 2/1, Divine Shield, Wind Fury. Basically, they took it from 2, they moved it to 1. It's still not a bad stat line for what it does. So kind of neat. Little stats, lots of abilities, definitely does the job, so no complaints. All right, let's talk new elementals. At least we've got these to look at, and these are fun, right? We're going to start with the Waveling, a tier 3 6/1 elemental death rattle. After the tavern is refreshed this game, give its rightmost minion +3/+3. Yeah, there's going to be a theme here with some of this, and it's interesting. But yeah, buffing just the rightmost minion. I mean, hey, Toki players, your hero power gives you a minion from the higher tier when you hero power, and it's in that rightmost slot. You can really love elementals, I guess. I don't know. The Engine Blazer, tier 4 5/5 elemental battle cry. After the tavern is refreshed this game, you've got it. Give its rightmost minion +6/+6. We have a little theme here. And yeah, you're going to love buffing that rightmost spot. Are there new interactions that will be giving us lots of rightmost minions that are important, or probably putting the worst minion in the rightmost slot every single time? The Air Reverent is a tier 5 3/6. After you spend 7 gold, get Easterly Winds. It is going to be the rightmost minion in the tavern, has +5/+5 this game. Basically a buff you can stack to keep, once again, buffing that rightmost minion. Looking at tier 6, we have Acid Rainfall. This 4/4 is after you refresh 3 times, gain the stats of the rightmost minion in the tavern. Wait a minute. Is there a payoff? Have we been buffing the shop a lot in that rightmost slot, and all of a sudden Acid Rainfall is going to keep soaking them up every 3 refreshes? Once again, this is one of those kind of cards that is going to be really good if you found the others buffing the shop on the rightmost minion or in general. But if you haven't and you triple into this, it's essentially a dead card. So it really depends on what you found in the early stages of the game and if there's no other better option. This could be amazing, or this could be just literal trash. At tier 7, we have the Stone Age Slab. 5/9, once per turn, double the stats of the next minion you buy. I just want to point out that if you've been buffing the hell out of the rightmost minion and you happen to get this, and then you can buy the best minion and you double its stats, that's phenomenal. Will you be able to get the perfect minion? I'm afraid this will be like a Reno hero power example where, yes, you can use it once per game. This one once per turn, right? Are you going to use it on just something okay, or are you going to try to find the best minion to buy double the stats? Because it's tough if you're buffed the rightmost minion, but it's trashed every time you hit refresh. There's something okay in the middle of your shop. Do you do the sensible thing and buy the middle minion and you get a good stat line? Or do we roll for the perfect minion? We know what the answer should be, and if you can resist that, you'll be okay. And if not, best of luck to you. So that's it for all the new elementals, all the elementals changing and leaving and whatnot. What do you think? Are you interested in this way, this very unique way that elementals are going to be playing now, where they're buffing the shop, but specifically one card in the shop? It's very different. I have obviously never played it, so I have no idea if it's going to be fun or not, but it looks interesting. I think it's going to boil down a lot to what that rightmost minion is. Because if it's bad, that sucks. And if it's amazing, GG, you're all set, right? I feel like this might be too much RNG to be good, but if you can buff the shop enough, even a crappy minion's great if it's got enough stats. All right, it's time now. We're going to talk mechs. We're going to see a lot of changes in the mech tribe, and I mean a lot. Let's start with the minions leaving. First, Frantic Alarm Bot. It's a magnetic. It gave Wind Fury to your mechs. Can't really go wrong with this thing. A little sad to see it gone. Geared Guard. I liked this thing for a number of builds. It was nice just to throw out a minion that would give Divine Shield to your other minions. So you're going to miss that. Ruins Renovator. It was something you'd pick up early, and then afterwards, you never really cared about it again, so no big loss there. Mechanized Gift Horse, we've already talked about. For a mech board, it's not really a big deal, I feel like. I don't see it often used in any builds. I'm sure there's niche cases where it's, of course, very good, but typically it's not something you're going to see on a board, so no big miss there. Rickety Repair Bot. I love this thing. Of course, that's the caveat there is, did you get it early or later? Tripling into a 5, not a bad hit. Getting it on turn 12, it's complete trash. Throw it away. Don't worry about it. Whirling Protector, another good magnetic way to give attack to all your minions. Gonna miss this one. Gleaming Trader had some really interesting builds that you don't typically see. I just like the way it worked though. That you just throw it out there with a bunch of Divine Shield minions, have a ton of summons, give them all attack. I thought it was kind of fun, but gone. Hollow Rover. Now, Hollow Rover had a lot of different iterations. For me, I feel like I liked it best at tier 5. At 6, yes, it has Divine Shield. Yes, it's really good, but I feel like you need this early because this is the kind of card you want to have and then find a beatboxer. Because finding the beatboxer and then desperately rolling for the Hollow Rover doesn't feel good, and I feel like it's just too hard to get enough magnetics for it to feel great. So I'm going to miss Hollow Rover. Polatron, we've already discussed, gone. Can work in some beast builds, definitely. I would say with Gleaming Trader, there was some interesting stuff that could happen, but typically wasn't a huge mainstay in mech boards. Finally, of course, Polarizing Beatboxer is gone, because if you lost Hollow Rover, you might as well kick Beatboxer to the curb. We're going away from this particular type of build with mechs for now. We will miss you, Beatboxer. I'm 100% sure in like 6 months you'll be back again. All right, let's talk existing mechs that are changing, and this one's quite the jump. Utility Drone is going to tier 6, going to be a 6/8 at the end of your turn. Give your minions +2/+2 for each magnetization they have. Now, I don't think this is a tier 6 card, at least from what we've seen so far in the minions leaving and whatnot. It feels like magnetization maybe isn't going to be as big. Of course, I haven't gone to the other new cards, so maybe, just maybe, when we cover them for you, you'll start singing a different tune about this. But typically, I have a memory that Utility Drone was on 6 in the past, and it was complete garbage. Can you imagine tripling into this and you don't have mechs? It is instantly just utter trash. It's a 6/8 body, which, okay, you have stats, but my tier 6 needs to be direction. It needs to give my game some meaning, not be a card I'm looking to sell as soon as I can find something else. All right, next we have some returning mechs, and you'll start to sense a theme with these. Marquee Ticker at tier 4, 1/5 at the end of your turn, get a random tavern spell. Once again, not the best stats. 1/5, not insane. It gives you a spell at the end of the turn, but since it's a mech, its stats are kind of deceptive because you can magnetize things to it. So it definitely can be a lot more effective than it seems to be. Now, if you have Drakari, obviously this is much better. This definitely can fit its way into mech boards. As an early tier 4 triple, it's far from the worst thing you can get, as tavern spells tend to be pretty valuable. So an okay card. Charging Zarina's back. Tier 5, 5/3, Divine Shield. Whenever you cast a tavern spell, give your minions with Divine Shield +3 attack. Is a great card if you're playing mechs or anything with Divine Shields. Cast some tavern spells, buff up that attack, have a good time. Finally, we have the return of Whirling Lasso-Matic. Tier 6, 7/4, Wind Fury, Rally, get a random tavern spell. And yeah, Wind Fury, get a tavern spell. Pretty good if it can survive that hit. But hey, it's a mech. We already know we can give it Divine Shield eventually. This is a great tier 6 card for any build, right? It's just, hey, I'm getting tavern spells. Even if it's, hey, it's trash, I'm going to play it for 2 combats. That's 4 spells probably. Worst case scenario, 2 spells on a 7/4 body. Not bad at all, and definitely a good card overall. Now for the new mechs. And yes, This is going to be silly. We're going to start with something that is going to speak to a lot of you. This is probably going to be one of people's, I'm assuming, most excited for card in this coming meta. And these are the volumizers. So there are 3 different volumizers, and they each do a different thing. So let's talk about what a volumizer does. The first one is the green volumizer. This is a tier 2, 2/2 magnetic. The first time this is played or magnetized, your volumizers have +1/+1 this game, in my most dreaded thing to ever see, wherever they are. So yes, all your volumizers you play, wherever they are, no matter how many you've attached, will receive this buff of 1/1. Okay. Wow, I played 1. Okay, that's not a big deal. Oh, I played 9. Oh, I see where this is going. Let us now look at the blue volumizer. Tier 2, 1/3 magnetic. The first time this is played or magnetized, your volumizers have +3 health this game. Once again, wherever they are. Do you sense the silly? I sense the silly. Finally, we have the red volumizer. Tier 2, 3/1 magnetic. The first time this is played or magnetized, your volumizers have +3 attack this game, wherever they are. Now, I'm not saying there's going to be people day 1 trying to stay on tier 2 playing mechs with certain heroes, but I am saying there's going to be people who say, hey, can I stay on tier 2? You know, someone right now, while I'm reading this to you, in the distant past, someone else is reading this and crafting a ridiculous strategy. They don't want to tell you about the new cards. They're already deciding how they're going to win lobbies with this thing. Get ready. Prehistoric Tinker is a tier 3, 3/2 Divine Shield. After the tavern is refreshed, give its rightmost minion Divine Shield. Yep, just randomly putting Divine Shield on minions in the shop can work for anything. Hey, you triple into this, or you just buy it and you try hoping. And yeah, some really silly stuff is going to come out of this. More rightmost things. Hey, that's the elemental thing. Stop muscling in on their territory, mechs. That's not good. Elementals need their own thing. The Auto Accelerator is a tier 3, 3/3 battle cry. Get a random magnetic volumizer. Just what we need. Okay, so maybe it's a tier 3 build where you stay forever and you stack volumizers. We'll have to wait and see. Conveyor Construct is a tier 4, 5/2 death rattle. Get a random magnetic volumizer. Okay, maybe it's not a tier 2 build. Maybe it's not a tier 3. Maybe it's just a tier 4 build, right? We go to 4 and we get this. Oh God, oh no. Junk Jouster is a tier 5, 6/6. Whenever a minion is magnetized to this, give your minions +3/+1. Crap, do we have to play tier 5 max now? I mean, we've already talked about just sitting on tier 2 and playing volumizers, but there's so much synergy. Do we have to go all the way to tier 5? But what about our beautiful tier 2 build? Metal Dispenser is a tier 5, 1/8. Avenge 3, get a random magnetic volumizer. Oh, please, just shoot me now. Just put me out of my misery. I already can see boards full of overbuffed, over-tempoed volumizers just rolling across the lobby, crushing me. Well, all right. Good news. At least we know we're going to stop at tier 5 now, right? We're done. We've got all the volumizer synergy. We're going to be playing up to tier 5 and just stopping playing mechs. We can win the game from there, right? GG. Apexis Guardian is a tier 6, 7/4 death rattle. Magnetize a 0/0 green volumizer to 3 other friendly mechs. Please just shoot me. Just put me out of my... What? Yeah, I already knew this was coming. Don't worry. This is the most broken thing that we're going to see at all. There'll be nothing else. We can stop at tier 6. All things are... Hey! Double Demolisher is a tier 7, 13, 12 mech. Your magnetizations happen twice. Well, I'm going to comfort myself in knowing that at least tier 7 is going to be rare, right? We're not going to see a lot of tier 7s. We're not going to see double demolishers rolling around. We're not going to triple the double demolisher. Please, no. Please, God, no. So, how do you feel about mechs? Are you excited? Do you feel like you might have a shot? Do you feel like mechs could be fun? Do you think that mechs look interesting? I will say so far, having gone through them all and thought about them a bit, I feel like of the things that have a unique thing, mechs have the most obviously fun to me unique thing. Almost. I mean, the best thing is coming up. I can't tell you about it. It's in another tribe, but thematically speaking, this is pretty good. Now it's time to talk Murlocs. Let's see if they fixed the issues with Murlocs that existed in the current patch with some of this stuff and what new direction they're going to take them. Now, we're going to start with the Murlocs that are leaving because, of course, in the first one gone, you already know about, but it's Blazing Skyfin gone. Once again, never really care about this card that much. Kind of happy to see it gone. Grimscale Elegist. Once again, another Murloc that, to be frank with you, I don't care about. Happy to see gone. Adaptive Ancestor. Useful at time and does have some interesting plays that can be made with, but for the most part, not really a big fan of the choose cards myself, so I'm not going to complain about this taking off. Cholfin Mystic is gone. Now this one I feel the pain from because I liked cycling these. You never knew it was on my board if things worked out right economy-wise, but it definitely, you felt their presence. And it's nice to see this gone though, because it does buff spells quite a bit. Not like there aren't a lot of other ways to buff spells, right? Flotsam Flinger's gone. And it had some interesting interactions with low-tier battle cries that you definitely could pull off. It was fun. Bile Spitter gone. One of your favorite ways to throw venom around and murder those big statted minions is out of here. I wonder if they'll bring something new in to take its place, or if we're just not going to do venom with Murlocs anymore. I wonder. Coral Murgler is gone. Now, in the current meta, it's definitely not in favor. In previous metas, it was quite big, quite impactful, but not so much anymore, but I'm sure it'll be back eventually. Now let's talk about the Murlocs in the game that are going to be changing a bit. First, Salt Scale Honcho, same stats, same tier. It looks like effectively it is a wording change because it used to read after you play a Murloc, give a friendly Murloc other than it +2 health, to now being after you summon a Murloc, give a friendly Murloc other than it +2 health. Just a minor change. Hot Springer, going to be still tier 3, going to be a 5/4. Its battle cry has just been bumped up 1 extra health. It gives +4 instead of +3. Otherwise, the same as before. It's the card you cycle. You don't really care about other than that. King Begurgle getting a good change this time, though. Still tier 4, still a 3/4. It's the battle cry that's changed here. King Begurgle is give all other Murlocs in your hand and board +2, +3. So the battle cry is not just going to buff what's on your board. It's also going to buff your hand, too. So nice change to Begurgle. All right, now let's talk about the returning Murlocs and how they're going to change the game. We're starting with Swamp Striker, tier 1, 1/5, Wind Fury. After you summon a Murloc, gain +1 attack. I mean, what can be said about Swamp Striker? It's interesting. It's got a good body. It is good at stopping low-tier opposing minions. It definitely falls off unless you play a bunch of minions and you still want to cut it because it's only got 5 health. It's a tier 1. It does the job. Canopy Swinger is a tier 3, 4/5 battle cry. Give all other Murlocs in your hand and board +4 attack. So definitely, especially in the early game, make sure the order you're playing these, in case you have other Murlocs you're going to be playing the same turn, you might as well play the Canopy Swinger first if it helps, because it's going to buff their attack just to give them a little more punch. And finally, we have Operatic Belcher, tier 5, 5/2 Venomous, Death Rattle. Give a friendly Murloc Venomous. Yes, Venom is back, being spread by Death Rattles this time, not by attacking. Belcher's back, baby. Now we're going to talk about the new Murlocs and how they are going to affect the game. And these are some very interesting cards. Get ready. First, we have the Expert Aviator, tier 2, 3/4 Rally. Give the leftmost minion in your hand +1/+1 and summon it for this combat only. This one's going to be a little interesting when it comes to positioning. You're not going to want to put it in the one slot if you have a full board, because if it attacks and there's no room for it, you can't summon it out. So you're definitely going to want to make sure you position this correctly. You're going to hope you have a taunt, but this is a really interesting card right here. The fact that it can summon out any minion. doesn't matter what tribe it is, it's just your leftmost. That really does leave some interesting scam potential and just good tempo in the early game. So a very, very good card, and a 3/4 stat line seems silly for the effect of what it does. I feel like this is way overtuned for a tier 2. Costume Enthusiast is a tier 4 3/5 that is going to hurt your brain later in the game. Divine Shield, start of combat, gain the stats of the highest attack minion in your hand. All of its stats. It doesn't say Murloc, just gain it. Whatever you've buffed, whatever you got in your hand that's nice and big, this guy's going to get those stats, and they're going to have Divine Shield. Very nasty, very, very powerful. This one's going to be icky. Drumalock is a tier 6 9/2 that has Death Rattle. Give 2 other friendly Murlocs the stats of the highest attack minion in your hand. Yes, folks, if you can get a big Murloc in your hand, you are going to be splashing stats everywhere. It is going to be incredibly big, your board, and this is kind of disgusting to say the least. Finally, we have the Future Fin. Tier 7, 7/13 at the end of your turn. Give this minion stats to the leftmost minion in your hand. And wow, initially, of course, it's a 7/13, not exactly huge, but it is going to get significantly bigger throughout the game, as Murlocs tend to, and that means you're going to be throwing a lot of stats in your hand, which all these other minions take advantage of. And just to add insult to injury, it's an end of turn effect, so Drakari Enchanter is going to allow you to go even more nutty for stats. Bigger, better Murlocs. Oh my. That's it. That's Murlocs. That's them in this season. And I have to say, they seem to they just seem way too overtuned to me. Like, there is so much easy ways for you to give stats and gain stats, that summon out extra copies of minions and put additional stats in your hand. It just, at least to me, without playing, they look incredibly impactful if you can get the package. I'm very, very much going to be keeping an eye on Murlocs. I expect there's going to be a massive balance patch when it comes out. And Murlocs, Mechs, and some other things I'm looking at going, well, these are already going to be nerfed. This will be fun. Okay, sure. Put them out busted. What do you think? All right. Now we're going to talk about Naga. It's Naga time. Let us start with the Naga that are going to be leaving. And first we have the Coil Scar Sapper. And I love this tier 3 Naga. I am so sad to see it gone, but it is no longer with us. Weary Mage is gone, and it's okay. I mean, I like it with my Coil Scar Sapper, but the use cases for it are pretty limited. There's only a couple good targets for it, so I don't mind this being gone. Showy Cyclist is gone. I don't really love this card. I never found it very interesting. I felt like you never, no matter how many spells you cast, it was never giving enough of a buff for it to be relevant. I did see a couple people, go completely nuts with like a Golden Titus in this, and they made it work, but it's so rare, it just wasn't worth the trouble. Fauna Whisperer is gone. Fauna Whisperer needs to go, I guess, because they buffed it for no reason. I was winning with Fauna Whisperer all the time, and then they buffed it, and I'm like, oh, is this just no one knows this is amazing? Because I'm pretty sure I feel like everyone who I watch and everyone who I'm aware of knows it's amazing, but they're buffing it, sure. And yeah, it needs to go, definitely. Silivav's The Vindictive is gone. I like this card, even if it doesn't stay on my board, just the cycling of it feels good. But I mean, I guess it's too cheap. It's like a rodeo performer that costs 2 gold, so they don't love it. I liked having it on my board when I could find space for it, though. Wraithscale Rogue, gone. It definitely would allow Naga to get explosive amounts of attack just based on how much health they were adding. I don't really mind it being gone, though, because it was always just kind of a subpar card on my board, but not here anymore. All right, let's look at the Naga that are currently in the game, but going to be changing in the new meta. First, we have Shell Collector, Tier 2, 4/3, Battlecry, get a Tavern Coin. It is essentially exactly the same, but now instead of getting a coin, which doesn't count as a Tavern spell, you're getting a Tavern Coin, which does. So it will trigger all those things you have that take advantage of Tavern spells. Deep Sea Angler went from Tier 1 to Tier 3, now a 2/3 with a Spellcraft. Give a minion +2/+6 and taunt until next turn. they basically supercharged it. I'm not really sure why. I was kind of okay with this card already, but changed. Greedy Snake Tongue, tier 3, 2/4, rally, get a tavern coin. The only difference is now you get a tavern coin once again to take advantage of tavern spells. Zesty Shaker just got a tier and stat change, goes to tier 3, 5/6 with the same effect of once per turn. When a spellcraft is played on this, get a new copy of it. It's functionally the same, it's just a different tier with stat line. Tranquil Meditative got a bit of a change. Tier 5, 3/8 spellcraft, your tavern spells give an extra +1/+1 this game. Yep, that's a game changer is what it is. It currently gives +2 health, and I guess it wasn't enough. I liked it okay, but a +1/+1 buff is much more significant, and it is a lot easier to keep this thing on your board now. So Tranquil Meditative, hell yeah. Now for the returning Naga, we have the Wave Rider, a tier 4, 2/8 spellcraft. Give a minion +2/+2. If it's a Naga, also give it Wind Fury until next turn. That is a big change from what it originally did back in the day, which was, I think the stat state was the same, but it also gave Wind Fury to anything. Now it only allows you to target Naga, which makes it a lot less useful if you're not playing Naga. Great if you're a Naga board, not so good if you're everything else. But remember, there's all type minions, so you could definitely still find some abuse for this. Slither Spear, Lord of the Gains, the Swole Lord himself is back. Tier 6, 4/6, at the end of your turn, give your other Naga +1/+1, improved by each different spell you've cast this turn. This is an old favorite of Naga players. You cast a bunch of tavern spells or blood gems. For every different spell you cast, it will make this buff better, and it works with Jakari Enchanter, so get ready. The Slither Spear's back. All right, now we've seen everything else. Let's go to the new things we're going to be playing with. First, we have the Profound Thinker. This tier 3, 4/4 rally. Get a random spellcraft spell and cast a copy of it. Target this if possible. Not bad. I don't know how excited I am about this since it's completely random which one you're going to get. It might not be that good, but it's still not a bad body at a 4/4 on tier 3, so could be a good play depending what your other alternatives are. Sunken Advocate is a tier 4, 2/7 rally. Give your other Naga +1 attack permanently, improved by each spell you've cast this turn. I don't know how much play this is going to actually see. It would be nice for a quick burst of attack if you needed it, but it's not going to be that much attack, so I don't know. We'll have to see. The important thing about this is it specifically says other Naga, so you can't put it in Menagerie. It won't work on your other minions. It definitely limits the usefulness of this card. I almost feel like, considering the nature of it, it could just be any minions, not just Naga. I don't feel like this is that good, but we'll see how it works out. Finally, we have the Bluesy Siren. Tier 6, 8/8. Whenever a friendly Naga attacks, cast Deep Blue for +2/+3 on it 3 times per combat. Now, I'm assuming that T3 it's showing there is what the baseline casting of Deep Blue is. It's going to count for permanently increasing that effect of that Deep Blue. Otherwise, this would be utter trash and shouldn't even be at tier 4. So, that being said, this is going to help scale your Deep Blues more. It's going to buff those minions more. It is going to be very impactful. But remember, it is Naga only, so don't try using it in other tribes. I mean, if you're not playing Naga, you're not doing Deep Blue, why do you really want this on your board? Anyways, it's a good Naga card specifically, only if you're doing that build. Otherwise, at tier 6, this is kind of a swing and a miss. It's amazing if you're playing Deep Blue or if it's early, and it is other trash in every other scenario. That's Naga. What do you think? Not that huge difference, I feel, for Naga. Naga have changed a little bit, but it's not dramatic, and I'm honestly not excited right now. I like Naga in their current form, but from what I'm seeing here, I am at least personally not excited. What do you think? All right, now it's time we talk pirates. Now, for those who don't know, pirates, they're one of my favorite tribes. Are they great most of the time? Sometimes. Are they fun? Yes, I like to cycle cards, and Pirates, I feel like this is kind of their identity as much as Murlocs kind of do it too, which is one reason I enjoy Murlocs when it's a cycle meta. I just like those types of builds. And I've got some good news for you, Pirates. Might be some cycling going on this season, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. We have excitement coming, but we have other stuff. First, let's talk about the friends we're losing. Those pirates that we might love that are gone now, and there's quite a few actually good ones. I enjoyed the bounty season we just had, so the shift is a little saddening for me, but it's also a return to form, so let's talk about it. First, Pirates Leaving. We're going to start with the South Sea Busker, one of the best tier 1 minions. Great to have that turn 3 where you can either go 3-on-3 or buy 2 minions. Sadly, South Sea is going to be leaving us a very important economy minion. Sad to go. Wizened Captain, I don't care about. No matter when you get this thing, it just never quite works. Yes, you get it early. Yes, you get 2 of them. Yes, you start cycling bounties. You still outscale them with most everything else, so I don't really love this. Big Wig Bandit is gone. A amazing early triple into tier 4. If it's any time of lobby where you can make it gold instantly, it's just like, all right, I win. Yay. You're at least getting a massive lead and going straight to 6 when you get this thing early. Kind of sad it's gone, but there's also obvious reasons why it should be gone. It's too damn good. So it makes some sense. Proud Privateer is gone, so you're no more doubling or tripling of your bounties. Oh, I'm going to miss those games, but no longer with us. Shipwrecked Rascal's gone, another way to make bounties work. Like, they're really gutting the bounties, obviously, this season, and I'm kind of sad about that. Thieving Rascal's gone. I don't super care. This is a card you kind of just finish your turn playing and then cut, typically, so no big deal there. In Sky, Admiral Rogers is gone. So yeah, they kind of put a lot of work into making bounties a thing, and then they kind of gutted bounties. It was a weird choice. I kind of thought bounties were cool. They were very piratey. I thought they felt great. And now they're gone. I felt like I actually wanted more bounties, which is weird. But that being said, I thought they were just kind of the right level of balance, because you could play a lot of bounties, you could go nuts, and you still could very much lose if you didn't also find a way to buff your bounties. If you found a way to buff your bounties, get out. You're going to destroy the lobby. But if you don't, you're just cycling a lot of cards. It didn't really accomplish much. I actually felt Pirates to be very fun, and I'm kind of sad to see these changes. But let's talk about the other changes, and maybe we can shine some rays of hope on the problem we have right now. First, existing pirates that are changing. There's just one. We have the Gunpowder Courier, tier 4, 2/6. Whenever you spend 5 gold, give your pirates +2 attack. Hate this card. Complete filler. Just don't enjoy this at all, especially at tier 4. Yeah, they changed it. It's got a little more stats. Yeah, it gives more attack, but if this is what you're picking up on tier 4, you're probably losing to most everybody else. This is an example of a complete just float in the lobby. You don't need this thing. Now, let us turn to the returning pirates that have changed. And yeah, there's some interesting ones in here. First, Underhanded Dealer, tier 3, 1/1 after you gain gold, +1/+1. Now, this card did exist previously, has tier 5, and is now tier 3. This is either going to be broken or it just hasn't aged very well. But anytime you gain gold, so you play a tavern coin, gives you +1 gold, +1/+1. You turn starts, you get 10 gold. Hey, +1/+1. Anytime you sell a minion, +1/+1. This thing grows really fast, and you do kind of need to get it early. I'm a little concerned with it at tier 3 with my memory of playing it, but like I said, that's taking into account the meta that existed then. Now it's very different, so maybe now it won't be as crazy. Briny Bootleggers also at tier 3. This is a 4/2 Death Rattle, get a tavern coin. Now this is pretty damn good at tier 3. Come on, it's Death Rattle, get a coin. It's a 4/2 body. I'm not going to complain about this at all. There is much worse cards at tier 3 and 4. This is pretty damn good. It's not amazing, but this can work on any board. It's decent stats and it's money. Hell yeah. Finally, my man. Yeah, he might not be, but in my head, he's the greatest pirate who ever lived. Fleet Admiral Tethys has returned. Tier 6, 5/6. Whenever you spend 9 gold, get a random pirate. You don't have to worry about buffing your bounties with him. All you need to do is really get a brand, maybe 2 of him, gold in that brand, and cycle cards. You will generate pirates constantly, gaining gold. And if we look back at our friend the Underhanded Dealer at tier 3, oh, how the pirates will grow. I love Fleet Admiral Tethys. completely enables APM play. Completely is the man. Please, let us play some Fleet Admiral Tethys. Yes! Now, moving away from the old pirates to the new pirates. I mean, it's hard to get over Fleet Admiral Tethys being back for me, but we have some very interesting new pirates also. We're going to start with the Minted Corsair, Tier 1, 1-3. When you sell this, get a tavern coin. Look, you get to start with a minion on your board. When you sell it, you get an extra coin. So you're going to sell it, you're going to get 1 gold like you always do, and then you're going to get a tavern spell, which triggers lots of other things, and that's a gold. So hey, can't go wrong. This is going to be a mainstay on a lot of boards for turn 1, just cycling through to give you that extra money so you can 3-on-3, you can buy that extra minion. Great minion. Stat line, oh, it's a 1-3. Yeah, it's tier 1. Who cares? We want the gold. It could be a 1-1. I'd probably still buy it. Industrious Deckhands, a tier 4 3-5 pirate that reads at the start of your turn, get 2 tavern coins. Oh, we gain gold? Oh, pirates like gaining gold, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, the 3-5 stat line, not bad at all. The fact that it gives you 2 coins means if you triple to this early, that is a lot of money. That means you can buy more minions. That means you can tier faster. Great way to play pirates. I love it. Visionary Shipment is a tier 5 5-5 that reads after you gain 5 gold 5 times, get a random tavern spell. Oh, so we can cycle and get random spells also, which will give us more minions, more money, more yes, please. I'm pretty sure yes, please. Well, I haven't played yet. This might be bloat because it might be hard, but this can work in any build. You're playing a menagerie build. You want to cast spells? Hey, put a Visionary Shipment on your board and get them every 5 gold. That's 2 damn spells a turn. That's not a bad minion at all. You definitely can build menagerie spells with that. Finally, Cannon Corsair, tier 6 3-8. Oh, just a little read of after you gain gold, give your pirates +1/+2. Now, mind you, you're not going to play this in other builds, except maybe a menagerie build with all type minions, right? But every time you gain gold, selling cards, turn starts, casting certain spells, you're going to gain so much gold and give all your pirate stats. You have this next to Tethys, next to Visionary Shipman, next to an Underhanded Dealer, and you are just insane. I'm not even going to mention that if you have the brand, you're going to have a hard time trying to figure out what minions to keep and cut. You're going to have all the toys and they're going to gain a lot of stats. Is it a heavy APM build? Yes. Is that exactly what I wanted from pirates? Yes. I must say, this card looks great. That's pirates for that season's. What do you think? I am just completely devastated to see the leaving of bounties. I love bounties, but I also love the potential of what I'm looking at here. And yeah, if you have games where you run out of gold fast, where you don't hit anything, this deck's gonna die fast. But if you can get a brand, if you could start cycling cards, this is just a turn that doesn't end. Mobile players, I just want to apologize to you now. You can't play pirates anymore. I'm sorry. But everybody else, have fun. Cycle cards, destroy lobbies, go nuts. Tell me what you think. All right, it's time to talk Quilboar. Let's talk about all the changes coming to the Quilboar tribe, and there's more than a few, let's just say that. First, we're going to start with the Quilboar Leaving. Let's see how you feel about the changes to Quilboar. First, Sunbacon Relaxer is gone, and do you care? Probably not. It's good to sell on turn 3, that's about it. Praetor Miner is leaving. Now, I did like this one when I had, say, a Prophet of the Board. I had some buff gems. This was nice to cycle through, but otherwise, that's the only use case for it. Glow Gullet Warlord's gone, and that was good tempo on turn 3, but other than that, nothing really to say. Prodigious Tusker's gone. Nothing to really say about that. Hot Air Surveyor's gone. I did like this card at times. If you were generating gems, this one was fun to just multiply their effect. Dark Gaze Elder's gone. Probably my least favorite of the directional Quilboar. It just seems like whenever I got it, it never really felt great, but it's gone. Hogwatcher's gone. Of course, everyone likes Hogwatcher, right? Divine Shield for my Quilboar? Sure. Sadly, not anymore from this. All right, let's talk about the existing Quilboar now that are changing, and there's just one. We have Bonker, tier 4, 3-7 with the effect of Rally. This plays a Blood Gem and all your other minions. They gave it 1 more health. Otherwise, exactly the same. Now, the returning Quilboar. Yes, we've got a couple coming back. First, we've got the Razorfen Geomancer, tier 1, 2-1, Battlecry, get 2 Blood Gems. I mean, Okay, it lost 1 attack, but now it gives 2 blood gems. And later in the game, if you're cycling it, that's a better value. So I'm okay with that. Briarback Bookie's back. Tier 2, 3/3 at the end of your turn, get a blood gem. Not really excited about this card, but there's times when it will be good. It's a tier 2, nothing much to say. Finally, Paint Smudger, tier 6, 5/5. Whenever you cast a tavern spell, this plays a blood gem on 3 friendly minions. It will work in any build. You don't have to play Quilboar. Typically, you will play Quilboar because you want to buff those gems. But if this let's just say you have a bunch of tavern spell generation, you put this on your board, you will now be adding 1/1 buffs. So it's not bad. It's certainly, I've seen worse things. But for tier 6, it does feel a little off unless you're buffing your blood gems. When you're buffing them, this feels a lot more powerful. All right, let's talk the new Quilboar. Let's see what we've got. First, we've got the Quilled Cabbie, tier 2, 2/5. After Tavern is refreshed, this plays 2 blood gems on its rightmost minion. So you're going to buff the Tavern with 2 gems. Obviously, initially, that's not going to be great. It's a 2/2 buff. That's still not bad, especially in the very early game. I don't think in the late game, once you've buffed off your gems, this is going to be on your board. But who knows? There might be some kind of weird build we can take advantage of this with. But we'll see. We'll play it out. If anything, a 2/5 stat's not bad, and no matter what. Next up, we have the Trench Fighter. This is a tier 4, 6/6. At the end of your turn, get a Gem Confiscation. Now, Gem Confiscation, if you don't remember, is a Quilboar spell, but has changed just a hair. And it is now tier 4, 1 gold to buy. But this plays 2 blood gems on a minion. It steals all gems from its neighbors. Now, the only difference from this spell from previous seasons is small, but it's important. Previously, it was friendly minions only. Now you can play it on a minion, which means you can target the store. Which means if it's putting the gems from the Quilled Cabbie on the shop, on the rightmost minion, you don't want it to be that minion, you can move another minion around the shop and then play the Gem Confiscation on that to move those gems onto it, giving you a little versatility in the early game. Now, I don't know how long this is going to stick around. I don't think this is going to have a big end game build, but it certainly has an early to mid game high tempo potential to buff the correct minion for you. So it really does have some good use for it. We'll see. And also, we're always looking for Gem Confiscations. So if you can't find it in the shop, worst case scenario, you could finish your turn by putting this on and just get one at the end of the turn, so next turn you can utilize it and not have to waste those blood gems. Pretty good no matter what you're playing. Next up, we have the Briarback Drummer, and this is a tier 4, 5/2 that reads Battlecry, get a blood gem barrage. And yes, now I have to tell you about a new spell for this to make sense. That is the tier 3, 1 gold blood gem barrage. After the Tavern is refreshed this game, give its minions +1/+1 worth of blood gems. Now, I'm assuming that +1/+1 is going to be changing based on whatever your blood gems are buffed to. Don't know for sure, but that would make the most sense. And then, since it's a spell, and it sounds like a stackable effect, you could cast this 5-6 times, and all of a sudden that Trench Fighter, and all of a sudden that Quilled Cabbie, now you have some potential when using Gem Confiscation on the shop, and there's some interesting things you can do. And with that in mind, we now step up to tier 5, where we look at the Razor Fen Flapper. This 5/3 has a death rattle, get a blood gem barrage. So the idea, I think, here seems pretty obvious to me, is that we're going to be buffing the shop with a lot of blood gems. So now when you get to the late game and you have to buy those Quilboar that are going to scale up your gems, which you're usually struggling to find with 1/1 buffs across the board, you at least have pre-buffed them. Even if it's just with a bunch of 1/1 buffs, it's better than where we stand now, where we're going to buy the gem buffers, but they're baseline stats and they just can't survive a hit, and it's horrible. Now you'll have more of a chance to have them survive and do their job. Now, what do you think about Quilboar? How do these new cards interacting with some of the old cards we've seen and how the changes, do you feel like they're going to be more viable? I think they have a very big potential. Obviously, the more of these you find in the early game with blood gem barrages, no matter what you play, that works. If you cast this 5 or 6 times, no matter what you're playing, now everything's buffed 5 or 6 times. That's a big deal. You know, if you had to keep buying spells out of the shop, that means you're not buying as many minions, so maybe it doesn't work as well. But that tempo as it stacks can make a difference. And if you're getting the blood gem barrages from these minions, well, that's just a free upgrade every turn. Nothing wrong with that. We'll see. Shop buffing is one of those things that either scales completely out of control and destroys everybody, or ultimately doesn't pan out and you just kind of fall flat. Hey all, I just want to say thank you for your support. I love getting to do this and I can't do this without you. If you like this kind of Hearthstone content, if you want more, if you enjoy what we do, please hit like, subscribe, always comment, and if you can share this with anyone you think who might benefit from it or enjoy it, please do. I really enjoy doing this and I can't do this without your support. Thank you very much. All right, it's time to talk Undead. What do we think about the current state of Undead? I'm not a huge fan right now, and personally, I could do with a change, so let's see if they're going to pull it off here. Now, there are a lot of changes to Undead, so get ready. It's going to take a moment. Let's start with the Undead that are leaving. Our poor departed again friends, since they're undead. Technically, they're already dead. Now they're dead again. But just like Undead, they'll be back again, potentially. We never really know. First, leaving is the Rot Hide Knoll. I don't really care, never super happy to buy it. Mostly if it's a 1/4 is why I buy it. That would be the only real reason. Eternal Night is gone. Once again, these have struggled to remain relevant. They keep trying to bring these back and they can't quite pull off them to make them viable. Maybe next time. Ride or Die was only with us for a little while. I don't really mind it. They're gone. Scarlet Skull was back again and once again and it's gone again. And don't really mind either way. Mummifier's gone. Mummifier did have some good uses. It was nice to help throw Reborn around, but I'm sure we'll find another way with Undead to reborn things, right? Campfire's Shadow's gone. I did like this card. This was one of those fun cards where it's like, oh, triple into it early with Reno. Oh, make it gold. Just steal a bunch of value. It definitely did the job. Kind of sad to see that gone. Disguised Grave Robber is gone, and that was a great way to make triples and trigger effects I needed during the shop phase. Sadly, not anymore. Carapace Razor is gone, and I am just so happy that this thing is gone. I hate the build when this build works. I understand the idea behind it, but it hits a point where it's kind of an unstoppable monster if you buff the attack to, say, 100, and I understand you should win if you accomplish that, but it's just this, it's no counter sometimes. If they get enough summons, even if you could tunnel blast their board out, and if they buffed it enough, you can't because it buffs their health too, typically. I'm kind of happy that this one's gone. It was just kind of a not enjoyable to fight against build, and most of the time people couldn't quite get there, so they just kind of failed anyway, so it wasn't even good. Noisel of the Many Faces is gone for the millionth time, and I hope this time they can just let Noisel rest. Him and his many faces should go back to the void and not come back, please. I don't like this card. Eternal Summoner, once again, is gone again. They keep eternally trying to bring it back, and it never works, sadly. It's a good idea. It worked the first time. Never quite pulled off the magic again. And finally, Aranimos, everyone's favorite minion to mispronounce. Say it 6 times fast. I'm not going to. It's gone again. I don't really care. I don't really love this card. That's all the minions that's leaving for now. All right, let's talk about old Undead cards that are coming back again. Changed? Maybe not. We'll see. First, the Harmless Bonehead. Tier 1, 1/1 Death Rattle Summon 2 1/1 Skeletons. They're back again. And they're still a perfectly serviceable Tier 1 card. Nothing wrong with it. Soul Splitter, Tier 4, 5/2 Reborn. Start of combat, give a friendly Death Rattle minion Reborn. And that's what makes this so much better. Initially, the last time it was here, it made a random Undead minion Reborn. Now it specifically targets a Death Rattle minion, and that's huge because you can use this now in a different type of build. If you have Death Rattles you need to trigger more, now you take this and you're guaranteeing that that's going to get Reborn. So this will work in multiple builds and has a lot of abusable potential. Enjoy. Oh, are you fighting a giant opponent and you need this to knock out a couple shields and you have a Leroy and that's your only Death Rattle minion? Yeah, get ready for the fleet of undead Leroys roaming around, basically. It's going to be interesting. Champion of the Primus has returned. Tier 5, 3/13, Avenge 3. Your undead have +1 attack this game, wherever they are. Now, this one is potentially very good if found early. If found late, good luck. But if you find it early enough, you can buff your attack enough. This does pose an interesting minion for your board. Otherwise, just skip it. Ghoul of the Feast is back. Tier 5, 2/8, Avenge 1. Give a friendly minion of each type +1/+2 permanently. And every single time this card has been in the game, it's a problem. Before, it gave attack too easily, way too much of it. Now it's a menagerie monster. It's like, oh yeah, stick a bunch of random crap up front you don't care about, buff the back end to the moon, then slide those minions up more while putting crappy taunts in back to continue to buff things. I just feel like this is really good, like stupidly good, like no one tested it good, because it seems really obvious. Avenge 1 in a 1-2 buff. Yeah, okay, if you pick this up on turn 10, you're dead. But if you triple into this on turn 7, turn 8, if you're a Reno player and you're just like, gold. I mean, and we're not even talking about the new mechanics being introduced with the game, how they could affect this. It seems to have a lot of potential. Maybe I'm wrong, because I haven't played any games, none of us have, but just at a glance, Avenge 1 seems way too low for what this does. Let's get away from the old undead. Let us talk about the new undead. I'm sorry, new undead. You were recently alive, or we found your bodies and resurrected you, and yeah, about these folks. Let's have some fun. Let's dive into this silliness. First, we're going to start with the Embalming Expert. Tier 2, 4/2. After the tavern is refreshed, give its rightmost minion reborn. Now, I'm not envisioning a world where this is on your board late game and you're hoping to hit the perfect card. I mean, maybe you are and you're desperate. You're like, just give me Leroy, give me Venom, give me something with reborn. I'll have a shot. And maybe that's going to be the case some games where we're desperate. But early, this giving reborn to something in the shop, that's a permanent buff, is very, very important. I definitely think this is going to have a lot of early tempo for any build. Like, you pick it up, you put it on the board, it's a 4/2, great, and now it's giving reborn to something in the shop. Oh, look, Deflecto. Yeah, okay, just plop that down. And that's just a random off the top of my head. It's like, there's lots of things you can get that would be powerful. So this is definitely, we're going to be seeing some play. At tier 2, even with the stat line, it seems just really good. 4/2 and that effect. I feel like this is a tier 3 card. Or, I don't know, it just feels like it's too good for what it does, but that's just me. Now we look at the ghostly Ymirjar? I don't know. Who knows? It's a tier 2, 2/5 undead. Avenge 4, get a free refresh. I mean, that's not bad, right? If you have a bunch of taunts, if you have Risen Riders and they're sitting out front, if you have the Boneheads and they give you that free refresh, that's not bad value in a 2/5 body. Not bad for for tier 2. That's not bad at all. So I definitely can see some value in this. Spellbound Soul is a tier 4, 6/2, has +2/+1 for each tavern spell you've cast this game, wherever this is. I don't know how I feel about this. If you've cycled a lot of spells, if you are generating spells through some interesting minions, this can get pretty big. I feel like this has more potential in a menagerie build than an undead build itself, but we're also going to generate a lot of spells and play spells normally anyway, so this could work. I feel like at tier 4, it's going to be one of those middling minions that is either going to be amazing or kind of trash. It depends how early you find it and what you find it with, but it has some potential at least, and it's interesting. Winter Spring Ghoul is a tier 5, 5/3 undead. Death Rattle, get a Tomb Turning, and that means I have to tell you about Tomb Turning now. Tier 4, 2 gold, discover an undead. It dies if you play it this turn. Now, you're like, what? Why? What? It dies? Well, think about that. Reborn minions would hit the board, they would die, trigger on any effect they have, and then you'd have the unreborn version on the board. So you'd lose reborn essentially from it, but you'd get the effect. If you needed to play it, that's not a bad thing. If you wait a turn to play it, it'd just be fine. If it's a death rattle you play it, it'll die, give the trigger. Sometimes that's valuable enough by itself, depending what minion you get. I guess one of the questions would be, can you play a Tomb Turning and get a Wintergrasp Ghoul, play it, have it die, get another Tomb Turning? Because we know there's things that benefit from spells going off. And it probably can work like that, because there's a lot of minions it can give you, right? Give you any undead minion. But that's still an interesting interaction if it does. The tiny potential of a near infinite loop. It's not going to happen. Statistically, you're going to get maybe an extra one of these, maybe 2 if you're lucky, having a great day. But that's about it. Either way, this is a very interesting spell and an interesting minion. I don't know how long I'd keep it on my board, but we haven't seen the form these new boards are going to take, so maybe it will find space. Sepulchre Sergeant. Maybe I said it right. Tier 5, 8/4. Death Rattle, give your minions +2 health. improves after this gains attack. Interesting. I mean, okay, it's going to give health to your minions. Typically, that's not a big problem for undead. Usually, it's more about swarms, but we're in a new season. This one doesn't strike me as exciting, but we've got lots of ways to gain attack. Gaining health wouldn't be a bad thing either. We'll see how this works out. This could be one of those cards you're perfectly happy to just plop down and have it die from your tomb turning for the effect. I think more than you want it on the board, that kind of might be the use case for it. We'll see though. This is one of those cards I really feel like I need to play some games before I get a feel for it and see if it's going to work with the new Undead and the new mechanics. Finally, we have the Forsaken Weaver, this tier 6 4/8. After you cast a tavern spell, your undead have +1 attack this game, wherever they are. And we've already seen there are a bunch of spell generation things. We could very much keep a Wintergrasp Ghoul just to get that tomb turning every turn, just to trigger for the Forsaken Weaver, plus all the various ways we can do spells. So it definitely has some potential. What do you think about Undead? Do you like the way they've been designed this season? Do you like the changes, or are you kind of meh with them? I am a little cautious with them. I don't really see anything that makes me get excited like some of the other tribes. I just see some generic minions that have some synergy. Obviously, we'll play games to figure it out, but that's just where I stand right now. I'm curious about what you think. All right, and real quick, we're going to cover all the tier 7 minions that are leaving, and you're going to say, well, why didn't you just put these in? Hey, I found out some of this information haphazardly, and editing each of these into their individual tribes would take far longer than you'd think it would take. It's not a simple process to interject this all over the place and move everything around and redo it all. But these are the tier 7 minions that have left us. We already know about all the new ones because they were listed in their various sections. And now we're going to get the 7s that left because this is when I just happened to get the information. It came late, so we put it here. First, the Boommobile is gone, and does anybody care? The only time this is good was you're on tier 7 and you just generate it randomly. Otherwise, no one ever wanted this thing. Completely happy with it being gone. Arcane Behemoth's gone. Arcane Behemoth did have some fun builds, some fun stuff you could do, especially if you could remove taunt from it, but currently no more. Tide Oracle Morgul's gone, and this one was really fun when you got to utilize it to murder people. But then when you were in a lobby where only one person had access to tier 7, they had a Morgul, they had the perfect setup, they'd end up being a board in the thousands, and there was no way to stop it because, hey, turns out having the ability to have more than 7 minions and venom and tens of thousands of potential stats on the board is game breaking. So Tide Oracle Morgul, while a lot of fun, is gone. On the other end of the power spectrum, Bellowing Tyrant is gone. And who was ever happy to play with this thing? It did work for me a couple times, but even then, barely. It just wasn't a really great minion. It was basically, hey, I reborned it, so I got to have fun. Maybe you got 2 of them, but otherwise, typically not a great minion. King Varian, probably one of the best tier 7s everyone was happy to get. It gave you money because you'd sell it immediately, and it would give you 2 tier 6s. And if heaven forbid they were synergistic or happened to work with your build, depending at what stage of the game you found him at, King Varian was phenomenal. So I will miss King Varian a lot. Finally, Moira Bronzebeard. I mean, your battle cries and death rattles trigger twice in a single minion is kind of priceless. Obviously, people love this. Yeah, if this was the tier 7 you found, but you weren't doing a battle cry death rattle build, obviously not great, but most of the time, pretty damn useful a card, especially if you find it early enough so you can use this for direction. But Moira gone. That's it. Those are all the tier 7s that are leaving. All right, folks, that's it. I'm going to stop it right here. Now, those are all the minions. Initially, I think I was going to include the spells and probably the heroes in here too, but then I received the rest of the information a little late, and it fits better in the other video. So this is going to be a supplemental video attached to the main one where we're just covering the minions here, and everything else is going to be covered in the patch notes themselves. What do you think so far? These changes excite you? Are they not really what you're hoping for? Or at least from a minion standpoint, how do you feel about the Battlegrounds right now? Completely separate from the new mechanics, everything else. How do you feel about them right now? Thanks for watching. I'll catch you all in the Battlegrounds. Have a good one. Later.